Hey guys, welcome back to my vlog. So today I said that I would talk to you about the time that I saw Edie Falco in New York City, and it was a really great experience. I'm really glad that I got the opportunity to go and that everything just worked out really well that I could actually go. Um, I saw an ad on Twitter that she was going to be doing a Times Talk, which is like an interview that they do on stage in this really cool little building in the New York Times um, building. There's a really cool little theater there, and there are about 300 or 400 seats, and you can buy tickets. So I thought, wow, this would be really cool. And I just randomly, the night that I saw the post on Twitter, I just randomly went and bought a ticket, which isn't really something that I would normally do, but I just went through this whole procedure when I really wanted to see Lana Del Rey, and I didn't have a ticket because they were sold out, and I was trying to buy one on Craigslist, but everybody was, asking so much money and canceling on me, and, it was this big drama. So I just thought, if there's any chance that I can go and see Edie Falco, I'm going to have my ticket. So I bought my ticket, and then I just kind of, you know, thought, well, okay, great, I have a ticket, but as if I'm actually going to be able to go and see this. So, but, in the end, I started thinking about it, and I kind of, priced everything out. And I mean, sure, it was expensive to fly and, stay in New York for a couple days, but it wasn't like the craziest amount of money. And the way I was still in school at the time, and the way my program worked out was in the last semester we actually get a bursary back. Um, so I did have a little bit of extra money, and the timing just worked out really well. If it had been on a Wednesday or something and I would have had to take 3 days off, I probably would have been able to go, but the talk was on a Friday, so I only actually had to take the Friday off. Um, and it just worked out really well with my schedule. So Thursday night, I booked myself a flight. It was a direct flight from Vancouver to New York, and it was a red eye. So I left here at 11, I think. Yeah, and then I got into New York at 7:30 in the morning, which is actually 4:30 in the morning my time. So I was like exhausted, but like really excited at the same time. I can't really sleep very well on planes. I don't know how other people do it, but yeah, so I got to New York really early in the morning. I took the subway into the city, and I was staying in a hostel in Chelsea. I booked myself a private room just because, I don't know, when I was young and like in Europe and I was traveling, it was like totally fine to stay in a hostel. But now that I'm older, I'm like, you know what, I need my space, and I don't want to worry about somebody stealing my suitcase or whatever. So anyway, I ended up staying at this hostel. I actually have a picture of my little room. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but there's my little room. So I just had a little bed and a little sink, and I shared the bathroom with my neighbor. Um, but yeah, fine, right? And like reasonably priced, or reasonably priced for New York anyway, which was still kind of expensive, but whatever. I was just going to sleep there. I didn't have to do anything else there. So I got there, checked in. By then it was about 11, 10 or 11 or so by the time I actually got settled and was ready to go out into the city. So I thought, well, okay, the time stop wasn't until 6:30, so I had some time to kill in New York. And the first place I went was Times Square, which is so funny to me because it just reminds me of that episode of The Office when Michael Scott goes to New York, and he's like, most people go to the Empire State Building because that's way too touristy for me. I go to Times Square, and it was just like, that's exactly what I did. I just went to Times Square, and I was like, okay, this is what people in New York do. They go to Times Square. So sat there for a while. Yeah, and then just walked around. There's so much to see. I walked up to, Fifth Avenue and Central Park, and, was kind of the corner of Central Park. And then I went to Tiffany's, of course, because I have to go to Tiffany's. Looked around there. Um, yeah, and just basically did a little bit of exploring until, I don't know, 2 o'clock or so that day. So then I went back to my hostel, had a shower, got ready because I wanted to look nice for Edie, and decided that, my plan was I was going to get to the theater really early and then hopefully catch her coming in to the theater. So I thought, okay, perfect. So I started making my way back down to, where is it? It's on West 41st Street, so it wasn't too far away from Times Square, but kind of like in that same area in like the theater district. I think that's off like 7th or 8th Avenue, I can't remember, but anyway, so I walked up there, and just as I was getting to the theater, this car pulls up, and guess who gets out but Edie Falco, and it was crazy. So she just like walks past everybody there's already a couple people in line for the show tonight, and I was like just coming up to the door as this is happening. So she walks out of her car and like walks into the building, and she has her glasses on, you know, no makeup. She's got her hair in a ponytail, very casual, and she's just kind of smiling and, you know, waves and walks by everybody. So I'm like, oh my God. And I run up to the door. Like, she's already through the door, and I run up to the door, and I'm like, oh my God, Edie. And her bodyguard or whoever comes out, like, opens the door for me, and he's like, yeah, can I help you? And I said, oh, I'm just, you know, I just really wanted to meet Edie and, you know, say hi to her. And he's like, well, do you have a ticket for the show? And I said, yeah, I do. And he's like, okay, well, you just have to stand in line then. I'm like, okay. So obviously I wasn't going to meet Edie. Maybe I should have pulled out the whole, I flew here from Vancouver because I'm such a big fan. You know, can you go talk to her for me? But I didn't. And at this point, there's already people like lining up at the door to get into the theater tonight. So I'm thinking, crap, like if I mean, it's only 4 o'clock. I still have 2 hours to kill. So I thought, I would, you know, get to the theater, possibly see Edie, and then go and have, you know, dinner or something, and then get back in line closer to the time. But I thought, oh man, all these people are going to be in front of me, and I really want to get a good seat. So I guess I will just get in line. So yeah, I stood in line for 2 hours. I was like fourth in line or something. Um, was just, you know, standing there, people watching, um, which was kind of boring. I didn't really make friends with anybody in the line or start chatting because, I don't know, I'm not that kind of person, and nobody else really seemed like they were into chatting, so I didn't do that. Yeah, and then finally it gets close to 6:30 and we get into the theater. So there are like 3 rows that are really close to the stage, and then a little platform, and then you know, more rows back from the theater like this. So I decided to sit in the front row of the little platform because I thought this way I'm going to be kind of like right in line with the stage, and I'm not going to be too close. You know, it would be great to be close, but I also wanted to take some photos, and I knew that I wasn't allowed to take photos, so I couldn't very well be sitting right in front of Edie and like snapping photos on my phone. So I, you know, sat back there and I'm freaking out. And hold on, let me show you one more thing. So this is what the stage looked like. There's the stage, and I also saw, I don't know if you can see this, but that guy in the corner there is Stephen Wallum, who was Thor on Nurse Jackie. So he was there. There he is. There he is. So I took a sneaky picture of him too. That was kind of cool. Yeah, and then so about 6:30, you know, the lights dim. Apparently there was an oil spill, so there was like this weird oil smell in the air. But the announcer or the host or whoever it was like, "Don't worry, everything's fine." Yeah, and then Edie comes out, and she looks so good. She's got her hair all nice and curled. She's got a blue shirt on, white skirt, and she's got these really beautiful nude Louboutins, and they're so high, and oh, they're just like the nicest shoes, the exact kind of shoes that I would want if I had the money to buy some Louboutins. But yeah, so she sat down, and you know, I got very emotional, and it was just a really crazy experience. So the host was Gilbert Cruz, who is the TV editor for the New York Times. Oh, and this is the little program that we got. I don't know if you can, sorry, it's kind of, I'm sitting right in front of a window. Anyway, there it is. There it is, Edie Falco. So yeah, he starts doing the interview, and it's really great. I mean, I'm just sitting there listening, you know. She talked about The Sopranos a little bit. She talked about James Gandolfini, which was also, you know, really great, but kind of, you know, sad, obviously. One thing that she did talk about that kind of stuck with me is that, you know, after he died, people were sending her all these emails like, oh my God, you must be so upset. Like, I'm so sorry this happened to you. And she was like, yeah, of course it was sad to lose him, but, you know, I was getting all these emails, and I just ended up eventually forwarding them to his real wife, Deborah Lynn, because, you know, she's the one that should be getting these emails, not me, which I thought was a really nice thing to do. And, you know, it also kind of speaks to, like, their performance, I think, like how deeply people connected with them as a married couple. But yeah, you know, she talked about Jim a little bit. Jim, I always say Jim like I'm best friends with him or something, but James Gandolfini, talked about him a little bit, and how, you know, she hasn't actually seen that much of The Sopranos, and how she was actually thinking that she should watch it, but she, you know, it was still quite emotional for her, obviously, to see him, because even if they weren't, you know, actual married couple. You know, obviously it's sad to lose your friend or your work colleague that you worked with for 10 years. So, yeah, and then at the end, they had um, questions and answers. So I knew this was coming, and I was trying to think of a really good question that I could ask her. But I was just so nervous, you know. I was just like, I couldn't think of anything, and I thought I was going to stand up in front of everybody, and I knew it was being recorded, and everybody was going to see me on this New York Times video if I made some stupid question, so I didn't actually end up asking her something, and I was so mad because at the end, some girl stands up and asks about brunch. That was her question. She was like, yeah, do you enjoy brunch? And Edie was like, what kind of question is that? But she answered it. No, Edie Falco does not like brunch, by the way, in case you were wondering. And yeah, I mean, whatever. So I didn't ask a question, and some other girl asked a question about brunch, no big deal. But yeah, it was really great. And then at the end, I thought, I need to get outside right now because she's going to come outside, and you know, I need to meet her. So I ran outside back to where I was originally standing when we first came in, and there was another guy out there. His name was Howard. He had such a thick New York accent. It was so awesome. I felt like I was in The Sopranos. But he was an autograph collector. He actually told me that he met Michael Imperioli earlier that day because the Tribeca Film Festival was on and Michael Imperioli was there. And he had, you know, he said he met Lorraine Bracco a couple times. Yeah, and he really wanted to get Edie's autograph. So we kind of bonded over that, and I told him, you know, oh, I'm from Canada, and I, you know, came here from Vancouver, and he's like, oh, do you have something that you want her to sign? And I said, well, I have my program, but I'd really like to get a photo if possible. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, I'll take a picture of you, you take a picture of me with her. And I was like, okay. So we had this big plan that we were gonna, you know, help each other out if Edie Falco came out. So, but it turns out, you know, we waited outside probably, I don't know for how long, an hour, 45 minutes or an hour at least. And it turns out that she actually went out through another door, of course. So we missed her. I didn't get to meet her, but you know, all in all, the night was really a great experience. It was very memorable. Afterwards, I walked back to my hostel. I started to walk back, and I stopped in Times Square again and went to Shake Shack and had a burger. So that was like a nice, you know, end to the night. And I took this selfie. That's me in Times Square. Woo! And yeah, it's Times Square at night. Anyway. Yeah, sorry, I was just seeing if there was any other. Oh yeah, and these are the photos I took. So first I got this one, didn't really work out so well. Then I got this one, which everybody's seen before. This is probably the best one that I took. You can kind of tell that it's her. And then there's this guy here, and this one. Didn't take a lot of photos because I was worried that somebody was gonna, you know, I knew that we weren't actually supposed to be taking photos, so I was worried somebody was gonna catch me and like kick me out or make me delete them. So I just kind of like put my camera up like this and was just like, and then, you know, put it back down and turned it off because I didn't want anybody to make me delete them. Anyway, that's my story. Sorry, I'm not very good at vlogging yet. I know it's pronounced vlogging, but I like to say vlogging. I hope that you enjoyed this little story that I told. I know I'm not a very good storyteller, but yeah, the day that I saw Edie Falco, what a great memory. And now she just has to do a play so I can actually see her act. I mean, for that, I would definitely go back to New York City. Now that I have a job and, you know, more money, it'll be a little bit easier. So yeah, thanks for watching my video. Bye guys.